I started watching The Sopranos because I really like TV shows. I like movies. I like all that stuff. But lately, I've been pretty distracted with this stuff to make sure I do a good job at it, that I've kind of gotten away from the things that I find to be creative entertainment. So Sopranos, I heard it on Bill Simmons' podcast. He said it was one of those shows that was Breaking Bad caliber. So I had to go and watch it. And it's teaching me that there's so many different kinds of cool. You know, that's like old Italian cool. They're all overweight. Nobody's really in shape, and they're all just living terrible lifestyles. And it's different from the time that we're in now, because I think it's cool to be healthy. It's cool to eat right. It's not cool to smoke cigs. It's not cool to do dumb shit. There's just so many different kinds of cool. And when you look at this platform, especially when there's people like Ninja or Mr. Beast or Tfue, whoever they might be, they're still really cool, but they're not stereotypically what would be considered cool. I think it's all things that have coming to fruition more in this generation. So I want to talk about that with my little brother, because what I think is cool and what he thinks is cool is different. We just have different opinions on it, even though we grew up in the same house. So I'm about to bring him in here right now. Hold on. This is him. Say what's good.
Yo, what's up?
Okay. All right. Well, welcome, bro.
So excited to be here.
Dude, I wrote about the different kinds of cool there is. I know there's like a high school type cool, which is like the Chad, like the athlete, and then there's like
my name's Chad.
There's like
yeah.
There's like the hippie cool, and then there's like nerdy cool, and then there's just like Johnny Bravo suave, like, hey, what's good?
Oh, okay.
Well, when I was in high school, anyways, I remember video gaming. It was definitely trending upward, but it wasn't like the coolest thing in the world. But now there's people who play video games, and they're the guys. Like, they're just known as cooler people.
So the way you grew up, like, even though, as you said, we were under the same roof, your version of cool is like, it's 6 years different than mine.
6 years, it does sound like it's a long time, and it's really not. But I feel like in our generation in particular, it's kind of the boom of technology. I think that's one of the things that we're really lucky about, that we're going to be able to tell our kids. We really got to experience technology completely taking over and going from nothing to being like the coolest thing in the world. I don't want to say nothing, but I mean, the iPhone came out when you were 4, bro. Isn't that crazy? Okay, well, now you have a good one now.
Well, it's not, okay, I wouldn't say necessarily good, but like, it's good as in usable. As in having like an iPhone, you're technically, superior back in, like, because it's like, it's cool to have an iPhone, you know what I mean? Because everyone has it. Everyone wants to like be that person. No one wants to feel like the odd person out. The reason I wanted an iPhone is because, like, obviously when I was 14 when I got it, is it, if I remember?
You had an iPhone before 14.
No, that's when I joined. That was when I was in high school.
When you,
remember?
You were about to say that's when I joined iPhone gang.
No, I was gonna say that's when I joined high school, and I was like, okay, but. So we're going into high school.
That's when you got your first phone?
No, that's when I first got my first iPhone. Our first phone was 6. No, around 10 actually. 10. 6 was when I got the iPod.
You had a flip phone. You had like a Go phone or something, and you also
something.
It still counts.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have to remember, the phone that you have now, which is your iPhone 6, is still 5 models better than what people were paying $800 for in 2006.
That's crazy, dude.
It's insane.
It's crazy. Like, when people have like iPhones, like, I was in a group chat earlier today, and literally everyone has iPhones in it.
Well, you have to, right? Like, pretty much to have the group chat be smooth.
Exactly, yeah. We had an Instagram group chat, right? Originally. It's from like my old math class, but we're all friends in it. And so we have one person that's on an Android. We wanted to switch to texting because like one friend wasn't getting notifications. We were like, hey, let's just go to a messaging one. And then like our iPhones wouldn't be able to send text through it. It'd be like once in a while. So I was just like, hey, this is being stupid. Like, what's happening? And then everyone started bagging on my friend Jalen.
I remember Jalen.
But Jalen has the Android. Like, they're like Jalen Android people, Samsung users, SMH. And I just thought that was hilarious because I was just like, man, like, we're really like, it was just funny to me. So we just moved to Snapchat. But like, that experience happened like not even 3 hours ago.
That's another kind of cool that, I mean, I don't want to say everybody who wants an iPhone is a hype beast, because some people just like the technology, some people like the brand, whatever it is. But hype beasts are definitely a thing. Like, you got to have the freshest iPhone. And
No.
what?
Definition of hype beast. So when I hear, like 6 years again, it's like totally different. But like my definition of a hype beast is someone who wants designer everything, like brands galore.
Yeah, but
Like
that's not what hype bees mean. A hype beast could
hype.
just be somebody who feeds into the hype. It doesn't mean you have to have all designer. I think iPhone hype is a thing, and it's like hype beasts feed
Oh
into
yeah,
iPhone hype.
okay, yeah.
Like
Okay,
I
yeah.
know there's somebody who goes to your school who wears hella Supreme and has a nice ass iPhone and didn't pay for any of it, and it's just a culture that exists.
Yeah, I mean it's like, I mean, what else do you expect? We're in high school. You know what I mean?
I know, but I'm just saying like what is cool is kind of different now because
Oh yeah.
I feel like if
definitely.
you show people from even back then who had money, would you spend all of your money on Supreme? Or I remember when I was in high school, it was like Obey and Diamond. Just the things that were considered cool are completely different. It's
mean,
cool to be a nerdy person now, and that wasn't the case a few years ago. I think maybe it's okay. Just continue. I think I'm tripping.
no. You're on the right track. So like, when I heard nerdy, I automatically like it's stereotypical. It's like everyone would think about it. It's like their first quick judgment. I think of a kid with suspenders, glasses, and like a button-up shirt.
Yeah, but that's like 1980s nerdy. That's not modern day nerdy.
Modern day nerdy is kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like not I don't know. It's just like people. It's just
I think
I
there's
don't
a
know.
difference in between being nerdy and being into education and shit because
Oh yeah.
some
yeah.
people might consider you a nerd, but you don't really. I mean, from
Oh,
what I know,
no.
you don't really give a shit about school to that level. I mean, of course you're there and you're there to get stuff done, but it's not like I don't know. You have other things that you really like to do. So maybe
Yes.
when we think stereotypical nerd, it's like somebody who's just a stout about their education.
Some of like the perspectives of cool kind of mix together.
What was that? Perspections?
Or perceptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
What
playing with
talking
you.
about. You could be like that cool guy who has like brand new shoes, brand new everything, like rich in a sense, right? You know what I mean by that? Like you're cool rich. But they could also be like nerdy, like they care about their education to an extent. You know what I mean?
Well, is being nerdy caring about your education? Because that's not really a bad thing. But when you think about nerdy, there's definitely a negative context.
Yeah, a worse connotation to that is like geek.
I think geek is probably worse because because nerdy doesn't mean unfashionable. There's just the word. But when you say geek, you just mean a fucking lame, like a loser. I actually looked up what the word geek meant a few weeks ago, and it was like unfashionable, not into the current trends. So
That's stupid.
maybe a geek would be somebody that's like a more negative context, or you're just a square. But being cool, you could be almost anything you want to be now and still be cool. Like there's no stereotypical way to be cool. It's just being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could be into anything. You could be into chemistry hardcore, but if you really like it and you're not and you know how to socialize with people, no one's gonna be like, "Oh, that's a lame chemistry guy."
No, yeah, no. Like technically, I'm not like you. Like, you might be in disagreement with me, but like me and you are geeks.
I don't think no. Okay, well, look, I think when I was younger, I would take more comfort in calling myself a geek because it gave me an excuse to not socialize. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm a geek. It don't matter."
No. But that's not what I'm saying. Like my perception of geek is someone who is like into stuff that people aren't usually in.
Yeah, but what are you into that people aren't into?
So for me and you, it's like we grew up loving, Yu-Gi-Oh. You know what I mean?
Okay, I thought you were gonna say video games. It's like, bro, video games are fucking
vi-
popular as shit. I don't want to hear it.
No. I'm just gonna say Yu-Gi-Oh. We're not into it as much, but we still like we could play it whenever we want, and we would have a fun time. You know what I mean? But when other people see it, they're like, "Oh my god, Yu-Gi-Oh!" Like
I don't
oh my
think
God,
people
what do you-
really think that way, and the people that do are kind of lame. Just because whenever we play Yu-Gi-Oh, it's not something that I'm really ashamed of. So if somebody's talking shit, I don't feel bad. But if I was kind of like, it made me nervous to play because I thought people were gonna make fun of me. That's what makes you a loser. Just being not even accepting that you like playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Okay.
When all of our friends were playing Yu-Gi-Oh, we're in our 20s. We're not 10-year-olds. Like we drove there with the intention of playing Yu-Gi-Oh in our own cars.
Man.
So I mean, you could say that's nerdy, but who gives a fuck? Like when you say
It's like-
geeky, I don't know what the word geeky really means. If you say unfashionable or not cool, it's like all of us were having a great time and it wasn't awkward. There's no, oh man, we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I can't believe we're such fucking lames. Like no, we don't think that. And I think it's the same thing if you take it out into public. It's like if you own it, it's not really a big deal.
But so I want to use him as an example. So Major has a couple of brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all athletic brothers. Like Major's athletic, his other brothers are athletic. I just don't want to say their names, but like they're athletic, and they're like his brother's like this was like the like everyone knew him around school. He's the athletic football player. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna make fun of his brother, but is he kind of a Chad like we talked about a few minutes ago?
No.
Or is he just a cool guy?
He's just a cool guy. What I feel like when people first see him, they're like, "Oh my god, it's him."
It's
You know
Chad.
what I mean? Yeah, exactly. No, not like it's Chad, but like,
Okay.
it's him. When I first saw him, I was like, "Dude, that's him." You know what I mean? And I never met him. When I first met Major, I didn't know who he was, and then when I found out like what his last name was, I was like, "Oh, so you're his brother."
You're
I was like,
his
"So you're
brother.
And I was like, I didn't know. And then that's when I kind of met Car, like talked to Car for the first time, and like he's nothing like how I would interpret him, as like as him being like, oh, you know, that guy. He's just literally the most like he's just laid back and chill. So is Major. Major's like one of my like a really good friend of mine. And I literally just met him this year.
I wanted to also bring up how he became that guy, right? His brother, anyways. He's somebody who probably like practices and shit on the sport he wants to, and he's not a dick. I feel like those are the only things you really have to do to be a cool guy. Because you could be somebody who's not a dick, but if you're not passionate about anything, you're kind of lame. You know, I hate to say it that way. Some people are passionate about their family. Some people are passionate about whatever. It doesn't have to be a hobby. As long as you care about something that's gonna motivate you to get better at it and shit. Like you care about video games. You know, it's like you're willing to put time into them.
I'm saying what I feel how it is that I don't think if you're not passionate about something that you're lame. Like if you just want to get your stuff done, and just like get it done full through, and you just don't want to care, just have a normal job, I'm fine with that. I don't care. That's what you want to do. But if you're not passionate about something, and you're trying to like bag on someone who is, screw off.
That's
like,
pretty lame. That's hella lame.
That's literally pathetic.
It's like couch potatoes that are talking shit about people for working out. Who does he think he is?
It's like literally like YouTube commenters.
That's exactly what it is.
It's literally the definition. It's like, oh my, it's like, oh my god, you could have done this so much better. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly, bro. I'm glad that you share that same opinion. So I was gonna write, like, the fact that he is who he is, it's determined by so many things. Like, one of them could be, like, I wrote down three examples. One of them is your environment, like the parents you grow up around. And like our parents have done a great job to raise us to be who we are, but it's not like it's perfect. There's obviously going to be conflict involved in like home situations and shit. I wrote your culture, which is the things that you put around you that aren't just your environment, you know, because even though my parents were telling me to live my life a certain way, living with my friends, it made it much different just because your parents aren't going to be like, if your parents are the only source of input in your opinion, then it's going to be pretty narrow. You still have to diversify and see what else is going on in the world. And I wrote your decisions because nobody told Jimmy to hit the crack. You know, he just did. And then you get the point, though, right? Like, there's so many factors that affect who we are. And that's a whole different conversation, like nature versus nurture or whatever. But for his brother to be that cool guy, like, I don't feel like it's that hard. And I want to relate it back to the kind of content. You remember how, like, I come home and I'm like, fuck, bro, I don't know what kind of video I want to make. Like, this is kind of tough. Like, I'm struggling.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie. It was just annoying me.
Mad
but
annoying.
I offered as much help as I can. But the thing is, I didn't want to intrude because it's your content. I want it to be something that you want to do. I don't want it to be like an idea that I had, and then you're like, oh yeah, let's do that. You know what I mean? I want it to be your idea and something that you would like to have on your like output.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how we came to this exact podcast. Because even though I did say, oh, dude, I'm struggling, I don't know what to do, eventually I figured it out, and I'm like, all right, hop on, I'm ready to go. But what I wanted to, like, correlate that to was, I did say how I was like, man, I'm struggling doing all this because there's so much shit to do. But the way I did it was literally just making it simple as fuck. Like, I know his brother probably has a lot of decisions to make, but the key things that make him cool to you is the fact that he cares about something, which is the sports, and he's not a dick. the blueprint to getting shit done is not that hard. I think it's just the execution, because it's so easy to flip out on people. And like whenever I'm arguing with you about shit, there's certain times where I completely lose my cool. I always apologize later. Always, just to make sure.
Everyone does. Like I do too. But like, there's always gonna be that key fact. Like, that's especially gonna happen if you're under pressure.
What do you mean?
Like, or under like stress. Like, you're gonna everyone's gonna flip out like 10 times more easily.
It helps me understand mom and dad's situation a lot better. So when they flip out on me now, or when they used to, they don't really do it much more anymore. But when they did, it helped understanding that, like, as you get older, like, stress really adds up. And for a lot of people, they just flip out. And it's not always their fault, but obviously they could handle it better. But it's just different.
Obviously, like, we're young. We're young. We're not gonna understand like what they went through. Like, we're like, you're old. But...
Big young. Fuck you, dude. What? Talking shit.
but what I'm gonna say is that we're young. We're never gonna understand the situation that you're in, like that they're in.
Our lives could be extremely parallel to them, but still, they're not really gonna understand. And to the same token, like I was talking to Dad about this a while ago, and he was saying talking about like, I'll never understand what it was like to come in this country as an immigrant and be 22, not knowing how to speak the language, and then traveling all the way across to a country where you literally can't speak what people are saying, and then working 16 hours a day. I was like, I will never, ever be able to understand that. There's no way. Like I'm 22 right now. I'm drinking wine. I don't know if I told you this. This is...
Why are you drinking wine?
I don't know if you see that. I'm sipping right
Same.
now.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm big sipping. And I'm talking to my brother who's like a few miles away from a computer. You know, it's like my life is going to be completely different than his. At the same time, his parents stay together, so he's not going to understand what we go through. So it's like, you just have to understand that everybody's perspective is going to be different, and it's because of their experiences or their culture or the decisions they made. So it's, whenever you want to get mad at people or trip about them not understanding something, it's like their entire input has been different. Like people in different countries, especially. I wrote this down too. Like what used to be offensive now is super, super offensive, and you probably can't say it. Like Dave Chappelle jokes, OP as fuck. Like you can't say certain things anymore. People get mad, or like they'll call you racist, or they'll call you like homophobic and shit. And a lot of the time they're just jokes. And I understand jokes might hurt people's feelings, but for real though, it's like, come on.
You can't be a pussy. It's as simple as that. You have to know that, in the fact that life is gonna hit you with obstacles, you can't do anything about that. People are going to say what they want. You're going to get mad. Deal with it.
I think it's crazy that I'm talking to you about this, because you're saying this to me now, and I know you kind of understand it, but at the same time, you really don't. When you get hit with certain situations when you're older, it's not about understanding that, oh, life's hard. It's about when it gets hard, you have to not get your sack destroyed by life. You're saying, oh, man, life fucking sucks, but you got to handle it. It's like, we haven't handled anything yet. I mean, we could say, when life gets tough, you got to handle it. But Dad did it. So his credibility at that point is so high where it's like, as much as I think he says a lot of shit that I don't agree with, it's like, fuck, but you got me there. Like, you got me on the work ethic.
It's like, even right now with what we have, we can't drop everything that we had, go to a different country, not know how to speak the language, work 16 hours a day, and then come off fine. We can't do that.
I don't think you understand though. There's people out here who actually do this shit. And you can't drop everything and go figure it out. But when Dad came here, I mean, I could literally sit there on fucking Duolingo and learn how to speak Spanish and move to Mexico and I'll be fine. But when he came here, there's none of that. He never had any way to learn the language except for speaking it. And that's a kind of hardship I hope we never really have to experience, but he did it and he overcame it. So even though I think a lot of the shit he says is fundamentally flawed, there's still that credibility there, because not only is he my dad, and I mean, I'm alive, so I mean,
our dad.
The job I'm alive, so whatever he did he figured it out, you know? I mean, we could say, oh, it wasn't perfect, but if we're looking for perfection, then we're kind of just jacks anyways. And even though I don't like a lot of the things he says, he knows to his perspective what he's talking about. So even if we disagree on things, like he hated that I got my nose pierced. He hated the ear piercing.
That's what I was gonna bring up.
At the end of the day, in my perspective, it's not a big deal. but to his it was. And at that time, I didn't respect it, and I'm still not gonna remove the nose piercing or anything. But I understand where he was coming from, and as long as I understand and I can move forward, I'll be all right.
I kind of think that's also flawed in a sense. Like he has kind of a growth, but yet a very very closed mindset. He only wants to like grow in the things that he believes in. For him, being healthy or being more fit, right? Like he thinks like if he just works out more and then like doesn't like just stops on some fast food, it's gonna help him.
He is closed-minded in that sense, but you have to understand what he's accomplished. If he was open-minded, he couldn't do it. Because you have an open mind where you would say, why would I go move to another country and work that hard 16 hours a day when I could just kick it? If you were in India at that time, you would have been like, fuck that. That's the thing, though. What you're saying, oh, I still think it's flawed. It's okay for you to think that there's a flaw in that. The fact that he thinks like that is the only reason that we're in the U.S. now and we have a roof, which is insane. You know, even though we could completely disagree with everything that he's saying, as long as he's, my dad, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as he cares, it'll work out. I also wrote down my first 15 years of life. I took in a certain amount of stimulus with you when it comes to games, Mario Kart, whatever the fuck we were playing, like anything. I feel like it was
definitely not Mario Kart.
It was pretty similar for us early on because we were always under the same roof. I wasn't leaving in and out of the house. Our parents were still together. It was definitely more inclusive. All the things that I did, you did, right? And I think
basically, yeah.
I think for like these last 5 years have been kind of different for us because we're figuring out not only the things that we're into, but how it goes well with like each other. Like my last 5 years have been, I love podcasts now, which is something I didn't do at all earlier. I just listen to music online and then I make stuff. You also do the same thing, but our lives are different because you're in high school. Like your culture right now is different. So whenever we disagree about shit, it's like, yeah, I understand that he's doing some jackass shit in high school, but it's not really jackass shit to you. So even though to me, whatever you're doing is completely pointless and dumb, it's still your life and you're going to figure it out at your own time. Most arguments like that happen because people aren't on the same page. And the whole same page thing is a pretty weird thing to really understand. It's like the same page. We're completely different people. Dad's almost 60 and he grew up in a village. I'm 22 and I'm literally drinking wine in my room on Twitch. There's just different.
Out of a red cup.
Out of a red cup. Not classy at all.
I could totally see how that is, but like back to like seeing like what's like what you think is dumb to what I think is dumb. You've experienced what I'm experiencing now. Your friends have driven a car. They've had their license, but it's not legal to drive you. Am I right or am I wrong?
When I was like 16, yeah. That's like the only year where that's a thing.
Yeah, exactly. But like when you're when you're a junior, maybe a sophomore if you have your license, but like sophomore up, we'll say, right?
Yeah, I didn't get my license until my senior year anyway, so.
Exactly, yeah. But what I'm saying is that people like you did that, and like that's what I kind of wanted. Like that's what I brought that up to you. It's like we're in high school. Like who cares, right? Like that's what I said. But then I'm thinking about it. I'm only gonna really if I know it's legal now, because like I thought about it. I was like what am I doing? Like if they get pulled over, one, like I'm dead, because like my parents are gonna get on me for it. Two, like
your friend gets in trouble.
Exactly, he loses his license.
Maybe. I don't know if he really would or if he just gets a warning or whatever, but it's not good, it's just dumb shit to get involved in.
Exactly. It's like it could easily be like resolved. Not resolved, sorry, avoided. So we're avoided. I just feel like the time it's like stereotypical that like it doesn't matter if it's like legal or not, but kids in high school go out cuz like they have cars with their friends. You know what I mean? It's like it's just normal.
I don't want to just get it carried away into legal trouble and legal issues and shit. I want to keep it more in what is cool and what's not. And when you look at like the people you're around and the people who you idolize and shit, I think at this point in time, 2019, the only thing that really makes you cool is, trying, like caring about something and not being a dick. The blueprint to being somebody that's cool is very simple. And I was watching The Sopranos, and the shit they were doing was completely not okay. It's pretty realistic. It's authentic. There's people out there in the world who aren't that introspective and think about how they engage with other people. Like me, bro, all the time. It's like, how was that interaction? How can I make this one better? And that's to a detriment, because I want to bring this full circle and to wrap up this episode. The content is one thing. The simpler, the better. I wrote down, get to streaming and have a list of like, have your introduction, shout out your social media, and just game. Simple as fuck. That's the only way I got through it. And my plans initially were way more complicated. And it's like, to be a successful human being, as long as you have like a work ethic, like a real work ethic. Some people think they work hard, but it's like you work hard, but you're like on a treadmill. You know, like you're running in place. You're not really moving forward. You have to like be engaging and shit too. As long as you care about something and you're working hard and you're not a dick, it's like the blueprint to success. All right. Do you have anything else that you want to say?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just literally, all right. So like, it's just an experience at school. Cause like, you know how I promote my stream out through school and like everything. By the way, twitch.tv/Sxitlz.
If I was in student gov, I would be pimping out my Twitch name, bro, on everything. I'd be putting stickers on everything. I'd be the most cringy person ever.
It's just like experience like from school. It's literally as simple as that. And like, honestly, I just learned to like just not care. But like, I have people that like would like, when I especially first started, they're like, oh, you Twitch stream? What's wrong with you,
bro? I finished off this wine. It tastes like shit. It smells like farts, bro.
You were drinking it the entire time, no problem.
Yeah, I just finished it off with a big gulp. Either way, people are talking about your stream.
Okay, yeah. So like, people are talking about my stream, and they're like, you know how they're trying to be dicks about it, like, oh, so you're a streamer?
Also, you play video games.
Yeah, it's like people come up to me because I post it all over my social media. It's literally what I want to do in life to progress.
Bro, it's simple. Like swipe up. I'm on.
Shut up.
I'm on
Shut
Twitch.
Up. Shut up. I see. That's the thing I have to learn too. That's what I want to speak about after. But it's like, I promote it at school and stuff, and people always want to come up to me like, "Oh, you stream? You do this? You do that?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, who cares? What I'm doing, it is literally my life. It's what I want to do. And people are gonna try bagging on me for it. It's like, dude, like I'm gonna say, like,
let me rest these digital nuts on your chin.
Okay, no.
No, I think that's way nicer than fuck off.
Well, no, it's like literally, I don't like, if you're gonna make fun of me or like attempt to make fun of me, and like if you're gonna say like, hey, what you're doing is stupid as fuck, I'm just gonna say, cool, bye. It's literally just that. Like, if you're gonna be a dick and like you're not doing if you're not doing anything, it's like, so like what are you doing? Like, what makes you so special?
I just want to tell you this before we end this, because I'm wrapping up the podcast segment of this stream on this. There's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna be talking shit like that to you, especially now that it's this generation where everybody has phones. Like, yeah. You're always gonna have access to the trolls and shit, because you literally have to just check out your phone. But yeah. I'm really glad that you understand that it's your life, because a lot of people make decisions based on what other people think and end up shitty as fuck. Like, I know I tell you to do a lot of things. I have a list of things for you to do every day, like chores and shit, but I never try to get in the way of what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to give you that kind of freedom, because I don't want us to get to the end of the road or whatever. I'm not even talking about death. I don't mean to make it sound creepy. I just mean, like, the end of the road of, like, this particular phase in life, and you're like, what the fuck, bro? You made me do content creation instead of competitive, and I wanted to go pro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, whack shit like that. Like, just dumbass reasons to have arguments and shit. It's like, just do what you want, and as long as I'm supportive and I'm doing my own thing, so I'm not trying to mooch off you. Like, it's really fine, and that's the only way that we're gonna. I'm excited to see how this ends up in a few years.
I literally promoted it on my Instagram and my Snapchat. That's literally all I did.
The hard part is not only getting the stream started, but it's just promo, focus on the stream, and then the system creates itself. It's just hard to show up sometimes ready to go. Like, before we started this stream right here, I remember I was tripping for like 20 minutes, like.
You literally told me before stream, like, hey, I'm like, dude, I'm nervous. It's like the first time I ever did this, and I was like, it's chill. Like, just do you. Nothing bad's gonna happen. Like you're like, we're in our own, like, we're literally like, right now we are in our own little closed space. Like, this is just us. We're interacting. It's a normal conversation. It's like, it's normal.
I think that's enough for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for having me on. Like, you know, it's been a long time. I mean, I was 14, I wanted to be on this podcast.
It's only been like 4 years. It started in 2016, so only took 3 years, but we're here.
loser. No, I'm kidding.
All right. Hey, thank you to all of you guys for stopping by. I fuck with y'all
Yeah, have a good day, bro. Call you later tonight.
for sure.
All right, bro, peace.